Okay, so thanks for all attending the action plan submission and amendments. It's just to recap so that when it comes to submissions, we're having less problems and we're not sending so many of them back. Last year we had significant revisions, so we're trying to speed up the process this year by giving you some information ahead of time. So action plan amendments, those are due by October 31st, so you have 2 weeks from today if you need to get those in. So amendments are for when action plans are not meeting expectations due to unexpected conditions arising. So when you're submitting your amendment, it must state the reason for your amendments and what objectives or milestones are being changed, along with the copy of your revised action plan. You'll complete on the title page, or sorry, the first page of your action plan form, box 3. So it's just a quick check for you that you listed your reasons for amendments and you're listing the objectives and milestones that were amended, and the date submitted to us. So reasons why we might not approve your amendments is that the number of objectives and or milestones fall below the required number. So you need at least 5 objectives and each with a minimum of 2 milestones each. If you decided that, oh, we had 5 objectives and we don't want to do the 4th one this year, you need to replace it with a 5th one. All deliverables need to be completed by November 30th of the current year. So if you put something for a target date of 2020 or December 2019, it will be rejected. And changes that are made only to try and score full marks for doing less work than originally proposed will not be accepted. So basically, if you were in a situation where you lost offices, you gained another company, somebody maybe died, or there was a fire or a flood in your building, those would be good reasons for an amendment. So when it comes to submitting your action plan, they all need to be into us by no later than November 30th. What you're required to do is self-score yourself on the completion of your deliverables. Submit to us all of the deliverables for each milestone and complete notes for each objective. In the past, we've received handwritten or scanned action plans. We will no longer be accepting those, so all of them must be completed on that approved action plan from March or your amendments in October on the fillable PDF form. So when you're submitting it, you'll complete box 4 on the first page with your date submitted, and then just a checklist to verify, did you check all your deliverables were attached, did you complete notes for each objective, and did you complete your self-score? So for self-scoring, you award your score based on the points assigned and on the completion of your milestone. The milestones must be completed and have started prior to November 30th of the current year. There are some times when we allow them a little bit to go from 2018, the end of 2018. If you did not fully complete your milestone, deduct appropriate points and include your reasoning for deducting those points. Don't award half points. So if you only weighted the item 1 point, if you didn't complete it, it gets 0. Otherwise, you can round to the closest whole point. So if it was worth 5 points, you've completed 25%, then you get 1 point. If you completed 50%, you get 3 points. So this is an example here. So in this sample, in milestone 2, they didn't complete part of their deliverable, so they would score themselves 1. And then just in the notes section, they would indicate why it wasn't completed and why the point was deducted. So your deliverable needs to provide justification for your self-score in the final submission. If you have a multi-provincial COR, so you're trying to get your action plan approved for Saskatchewan or an equivalency for BC, you need to have at least some deliverables providing a representative sampling from those provinces as well. Okay, so for your documents that you're providing for your deliverables, they need to be legible, so not bad photocopies. They need to have dates to prove that you've completed them in this calendar year prior to November 30th, and they must be clearly identified as to which milestone it's verification for. So just name the file Objective 1, Milestone 1, so it's clear for us to know what we're looking for. Provide the names of the documents submitted for verification in the notes area. Then I'll show an example of that later. So your notes need to provide the summary of how the objective and milestones were accomplished. They need to reflect the pros and cons with any lessons learned and identify any points withheld. So any changes to the deliverables from the approved plan must be documented in the notes. So if you didn't have a meeting minute to prove out the documents, but you had some other kind of communication, so email or newsletter that went out, you can substitute it as long as it's equivalent in showing that that milestone was accomplished. So here's an example of one that was submitted to us back in 2017 with the notes. So they've indicated for each milestone what they accomplished and what they're submitting to us for their deliverables, and then just a little note on why they're scoring so high. So you're going to be submitting your deliverables to corinfo@energysafetycanada.com. In the actual action plan form, there's a button right now that says submit to email, but it's submitted to nform.ca, so don't use that. Attach the rest of your deliverables to the package, so you're going to submit your completed action plan form as well as all the deliverables. Or you can drop off or mail your submission package with a binder or a jump drive if you want. We'll send it back to you after we're done. Or some companies even come in for a meeting to go over their package with us if it's confidential files or things like that. So the best way to submit it through email is to put all your deliverables in a zip folder or in a couple of zip folders. We accept up to 10 megabytes. Just making sure that you're naming each file so that it's easy for us to figure out where that deliverable matches up to in your action plan. To zip a file is pretty easy. Just right-click on the file that you want to zip and click on Send To, and then Compressed Zip Folder. And then once you have that zip folder created, you can just drag and drop folders right into there, or files. So the quality assurance process is done by us. So obviously we're needing to see that it's submitted by November 30th. All the deliverables are complete, organized, and legible. The note sections are completed for each objective. The documentation is directly relevant to the specific action item and provides good evidence to support the completion of that milestone. And do not send more documentation than is required to verify each item. So if you updated a small portion of your manual, don't send the entire manual and make us search through it. So if you haven't quite met the QA, we do send it back for one set of revisions only, and that'll be 5 days only, because It's basically if you may have forgotten to submit a deliverable. We don't accept items completed after November 30th, and all of the action plans need to be approved by December 31st. So because it's a core maintenance option, this minimum passing score is now 60%. In the past years, it was no minimum score. However, if this is your first maintenance action plan, you need to achieve at least 80% to be able to do an action plan in your second maintenance year. If you happen to fall below 60%, you still need to complete a maintenance audit by the end of the year in order to maintain your core. So again, action plan amendments are due on or before October 31st, and all deliverables are due on or before November 30th. Okay, that's basically all I had. Does anyone have any specific questions for their action plans?
Yes, I have a question if you can hear me.
Yes.
So BC, we had to do an internal audit. Are they going to be doing the action plan going forward?
They are still putting it on hold till at least 2021. At that time, they may have a similar action plan process, but it won't match the Alberta one. That's what I've heard so far anyways, but the last I talked to WorkSafe BC last week, they said they won't be accepting them for 2020.
Yes, I have a question. So if a change date for the deliverable, say something that in the plan was supposed to happen in August, but it didn't happen until October, I don't need to submit an amendment, right?
That's correct. As long as all of your deliverables are completed before November 30th, you are fine. You just have to put in your notes what happened and why you didn't accomplish it at that target date.
And if I didn't achieve it to the target date, then I'll subtract points to it?
No, that wasn't in the government's QA process, so within reason, we will accept full points if it's completed before November 30th.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Can I get you to please clarify with regards to once we have submitted our action plan, if it's sent back, we have 5 days to complete the changes, correct?
Yeah, if you're on holidays or something, then we'll just shift that 5 days to when you're back, as long as it's done before December 31st.
Oh, okay, that was how I was wondering how the December 31st fit in, so that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Will this PowerPoint?
Yeah, I will email the PowerPoint to everyone.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions?
Okay, I have one. Going back to holding a core in both provinces, what am I supposed to do again? Because I hold one in Saskatchewan and Alberta.
So if you've applied for a Saskatchewan action plan as well, then you just have to have one of your objectives or milestones prove that you've accomplished it in Saskatchewan or with your Saskatchewan employees. So if you had an org chart listing your employees in Saskatchewan, then that would achieve it as long as one of their names showed up on one of the deliverables.
Oh, okay, because we're mainly Saskatchewan and I just hold it in Alberta as well because we go into Alberta sometimes.
Yeah, so then it would be the opposite. If you
Okay,
showed us
like,
who was working in Alberta, then that would be fine.
Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, if there's no more questions, we'll be sending out the action plan presentation to everybody, and feel free to email me if you have any additional questions. Okay, thanks for your time, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, we had originally scheduled this meeting for 2.5 hours. This is the first time we've actually presented this, so we weren't sure how many questions people would have. As Courtney had mentioned, if you do have any other questions after today's session, please definitely feel free to email COR info and or give us a shout and we'll go from there.